requesting a special use permit to build a 16 by 24 structure to raise and house dogs, to sell mostly pet shops, and some retail. Let me take this one out. Okay, we are going to open this to a public meeting, and we will close that after a period of time. And I ask you to, if you're going to speak to the board, not to other people, and you will have 3 minutes for each person that would like to speak. So, I have one question about this. I don't see anywhere in this paperwork, Matthew, where this is on your property, location.
Okay, they had maps of it at the planning board. I guess this evening they're going to do it again. It's either on south or west of my barn.
Does it meet all the variances for setbacks and everything else?
Yes. It's approximately 250 feet off the road.
Okay. All right. Do you have over 50 acres? 53 or something. Okay, once again, I would like anybody who wants to speak to the board, not to someone else. Okay? So I will open up the meeting up to anybody that would like to speak.
My name is Richard Lowers. Matthew is my neighbor. He rents part of my farm. Matthew and his family are good neighbors and good people. This board is going to undoubtedly allow Matthew to finish his building that he's building for his dogs right now, and he has that right as a citizen of the United States to do what, make a living, do what he wants with his property.
Okay.
I'm at the other end of the spectrum, where I would like a little peace and quiet and a good night's sleep. Instead of getting woke up in the night, I've been awake since 10 after 3 this morning when they started howling. All I'm asking for is what this town of Jerusalem has a law for. It shall be, and I'm going to quote their law, it shall be unlawful for any owner or any person harboring any dog in the town of Jerusalem to permit or allow such dog to engage in loud howling or barking, or to conduct itself in such manner so as to annoy any person other than the owner or person harboring such dog. People have the right to, this is out in the country, we have the right to be able to go outside in the evening and have a quiet evening, a quiet night's sleep, and that's all I got to say. They're good people, good neighbors, but all I'm asking for is my rights too.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
That is on the zoning laws. Have you spoken at any time to the code enforcement officer?
No.
Okay, that is an alternative, to talk to the code enforcement officer, and he will come out and investigate the problem.
Well, I would rather not do it that way.
Well, that's your choice.
I would rather, we will learn whether Matthew respects what the people in the neighborhood want. There's ways of controlling dogs so they don't bark. And
okay.
Have you expressed your concern to Mr. Simpson?
Yes, we talked.
Okay. Anybody else?
Katie Smith-Everett. I'm a resident of the town of Jerusalem. I'm here to express opposition to this application. I think that it is likely that in less than a year there will be 65 to 70 dogs on premises. If the average litter size is about 5 puppies, and not all dogs are adopted immediately, the population continues to grow. This is too large a breeding facility, so if you thought barking was a problem before, just add another 70 dogs to the premises. It's an average of less than 6 square feet per dog. That includes everything, including the ability to walk through the kennel for feeding, for, I'll say, species removal. The issue about the barking dogs, I think, is a very important issue to discuss because typically in situations like that where neighbors complain about barking dogs, kennel owners will destroy the voice boxes of the dogs in question. They will either manually destroy the voice boxes or they will laser destroy them. And the dogs no longer are able to bark or protect themselves in that way. So I think that the noise is a very important issue, but how that noise is addressed is just as important. And again, as I said, I am opposed to this application.
Okay, thank you. You were next, I think.
Hi, I'm Dr. Karen Doucette. I'm a veterinarian. I live in the area over by Wayne, and I just want to express my opposition to these types of large kennels, and I can provide you with information about why they're bad for the dog and for the community. This is something, again, she talked about, for example, manually debarking dogs. It's a veterinary procedure. It should not be done manually with a metal pipe, which is often how it's done. And there are so many other environmental, business, community, animal welfare, as well as health and human health associated with these large scale. And my question to you is, if people are talking about barking dogs, so this gentleman already has a large number of dogs or a kennel existing and wants to expand, or is this a new?
This is new.
So what are the barking dogs?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. So I would just like to give the board a packet of all kinds of information that I just touched upon, and if you have any questions for me as a veterinarian, I'd be happy to answer them.
I'm curious, what do you consider a large kennel?
Well, anywhere from, usually a private manageable amount of dogs is anywhere from 10 or less. So anything, I would say, above that, 20, 50, 100 is going to be large, considered large scale. It really has to do with how many adult dogs and puppies will be there at any time during a year, and what is the facility? Is it, how are they housed, etc. How many people are taking care of? That's another big point that people don't admit, is that how many persons are taking care of each dog. It's usually a good idea to have 3 people for a dog during a 24-hour period to take care of all their needs. Usually. Minimum, absolute minimum 2, but a 1-to-1 or one person taking care of more than, that several dogs gets the workload and the quality of work suffers. And there are standards that are already established. I didn't get in that packet, but you can go to shelter, the veterinary shelter organization. They have already had standards because it's a similar situation in an animal shelter. You need so many staff to take care of so many dogs and cats. So they've already established these standards and procedures.
Well, he's gone through all the state requirements. I have a copy of his application. Would you like to take a look at the size of the building?
Sure.
There you go.
The other thing is that, we always talk about, well, they're USDA licensed or the New York State is going to look into it, but it's only as good as the regulations, and it has been proven that USDA regulations are minimal survival standards. They are not meant to be the way a social animal ability to put out your own rules, and I understand that you do have certain land use regulations applying to kennels. Is that available on your website? Your land
The
use
zoning laws are available, and there's some information in there. As far as what he's asking for is a special use permit,
Mhm.
which is a permitted use in the town. So, I'll let you read that.
Okay.
Who's
May
next?
I ask, are you currently working at any clinic?
No, I'm not. I am an independent person. I do like house calls, and I do consult with the Green Lake SPCA. I do a lot of their veterinary work to help them out.
Okay, who's next? Go ahead.
I'm Rebecca Flynn from Barrington, and I just wanted to point out that I had a number of people from this area say that they weren't notified about the previous meeting that approved some portion of this, and that is kind of a mandatory thing you have to do. So perhaps taking some time to just notify everyone in the area.
It is publicly announced in the newspaper 2 weeks before the meeting. And the town board, or the planning board meeting was also publicly announced.
It's publicly announced, it's on the website. The site plan does not have to be a public hearing unless the planning board so desires.
Well, I personally feel that each and every little township that we have, including Barrington, affects us in Eads County as a whole. I am really trying to manage the issues in my backyard, which include parvo. A parvo puppy was sold to a pet shop in Rochester. There's a lawsuit that's going to be coming from that, and that was from Wayne Sensenig. You know, we had to face the facts that John Sensenig had, in our area, had animal abuse charges against him in Pennsylvania that he pled guilty to, and then came here and got a dealer license. So before we just open these businesses and don't do our due diligence, we really do need to do some research and look around, because they're not coming forward and saying, hey, you know, I was kicked out of Pennsylvania for my business because I pled guilty to a charge. So we have to do that due diligence. And because we have to do it, it falls on you guys to do it, which is a lot of work. I know, it's like part of what I do a lot of the time.
Okay, you done?
So, yeah, so I just hope you guys take the time to really put some thought into what you're bringing into your area. Thank you.
I'm curious if there's John Kyle, Shane Finjo. Is there a number of dog breeding facilities that you're aware of in town of Jerusalem?
We approved one probably a half ago, 2 years ago. And it was Mr. Zimmerman who applied for that. That's the only one I know of, isn't it?
There was another one back in 2004. That's a dog, an existing dog kennel. And there's another one, and I can't remember what year it was. It's up on Coates Road. So there's at least there may be one other one without checking the records, but there's at least that many that I can remember since I've been in this position.
Okay, and is there a number of dogs that's allowed?
That is up to us.
And how do you determine that?
We determine that primarily with the size of the structure and the available size of the land that it's being put on. The planning board recommended 12 breeding females. If you look at the size of what he's got there, he doesn't have 12 spaces currently. So we take all of that into consideration. Okay? Did I answer that?
Yeah. And are there regulations within the town as far as disabling vocal cords or any of that stuff?
No. I mean, the way to handle that, if it is a problem, is to call the code enforcement officer to go out and inspect what's going on. Just a minute. So that is the proper procedure to go through.
I see. And if a neighbor were concerned with that and went to the code enforcement, what would he or she do? Issue tickets or something like that the censors would have to answer to? Or how
I can't answer that, but he has the information. He knows, he can cite property. Eventually, if it keeps being a problem, he can shut it down.
And revoking the special use permit. Right?
Well, it would, the way it normally would work, if there are issues on a special use, then, as Glenn said, they would send a code officer out, he would investigate, and we would check into all of these things, and then the applicant would be brought back in to answer to these allegations. And if the zoning board found them to be true, they can, what Carrie said, the special use could be revoked. But it's on a basis of being brought back in to answer the charges or allegations, and then making sure that it is what it is, and then if it's found to be so, it can be revoked.
You had your hand up.
Yeah, I did notice that Matthew in the past, when he lived on Havens Corners Road with Irvin, had applied for a 75 to 100 dog puppy mill on that road, and I wondered if that was a mill that he had been running.
That is not in the town of Jerusalem.
Right, but I just wondered if it was
I don't know anything about that.
all related, because if he was going to be transporting dogs back and forth from that township to this township, you'd be looking at, any contaminants from that site coming to this site in this area, and then you'd want to be aware. So I just thought I'd bring that up, that this may not be the first time.
Anybody else? Yes.
Rachel Roback, Phil Road. I'm personally opposed to puppy mills or large dog breeding facilities. I would be concerned as to how the dogs were treated and socialized, and what would happen to those dogs if homes could not be found for them, or if for some reason there were issues with a special use permit that required the dogs to be rehomed in a short amount of time.
Not that I know of anything associated with that. Once again, if there is issues with the care and the facilities and the noise, that would fall under the code enforcement officer. Okay, anybody else?
I just have a question on the plan. He says 4x4. Are these where the dogs will live in the majority of the time?
There's an outside door where the dogs can go out.
On their own? Or do they have to be
Yes.
manually let out?
No, on their own.
On their own, okay. And they live in a 4x4, one dog to each 4x4 space?
I assume so.
Okay.
You had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I live next to Matthew, his neighbor, and Matthew and Hinckley, I've known them since they've been there, and they are good people, and I don't think they're going to be mistreating things. I'm not going to get into the politics of dog breeding and stuff, because it's a tough thing. I have purebred dogs, and I don't know, it's a tough thing. I was out in California, that's where I've been lately. They just passed a law, first in the country, started January 1st. No pet store can sell a dog from a puppy mill or a private breeder. All dogs sold in puppy stores, in pet stores, have to come from rescue operations. So the only breeders that can exist in that state are breeders that sell privately to private individuals. It's a great law, but that's kind of the way I think we address this type of stuff. If we want to address it, we have to really change laws. But that being said, barking would again be my only concern. And I think we've talked about it, and if I had a problem with barking, I think I would go to Matthew and say, no, your dogs are barking, and we would work it out, I would hope. That would certainly be my first thing, so.
You can do that, like I stated before, the proper way to do it is if it continues, then you...
Right. But I'm saying if I had a concern about it as a property owner nearby, barking is the main thing that would be my concern.
I agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anybody else? Yes, sir.
Just one comment to make. At one point, some years ago, I have not checked back, but at the time of an application back about 7-8 years ago, I was at a meeting in the town of Potter. And at that time, Humane Society's space requirements were a lot less than what they're requiring a licensed dog kennel in our area to be. It's just something I would like you to consider. Thank you.
Okay.
Did you sign it, sir?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Sure, go ahead.
Hi, Andrew Roback, also in the Jerusalem Township. Yeah, and I think I would just echo some of the comments from before. And it seems to me, suggest to you that although we have mechanisms built in to address problems, it seems like it might be overwhelmingly likely that there are going to be problems. If there's barking now, more dogs, there's going to be more barking. If it seems likely that there's the way that might be handled could be inhumane, the amount of space they have might be legal in fact, but it doesn't seem like a good amount of space for a dog, and a dog with puppies. So I sort of echo some of the comments. I'm also against the special permit.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Being a special use permit, wait a minute, I'm going to start with Joe. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Roger.
I'm looking at the drawing. How many,
I'm sorry, excuse me, Glenn, should we close the public part of the meeting?
Let's finish this.
Okay.
how many, I'm not sure how many spaces you have for dogs here.
So 11 pens, and I'm assuming that means...
Walking boxes and pens, how many?
So there was,
Yeah, go ahead.
there are 11 pens, yes. So it's a 4x4 boxes would be 16 square feet per pen. And then the outside will be yards up to like 40 yards long with grass that can come and go at will. So according to way more than municipal standards and more than USDA and state standards is 16 square feet. You could fit more than, or the standard would be more than 2 dogs in there, but there was more than 1 or 2 dogs that it depends on what stage they're in.
So, in this facility, you would have maybe at most for like 20 dogs?
No, I applied for 12 or less.
Yeah, but the puppies?
The puppies.
And, somebody pointed out, how long would you keep, what age would you think you'd be keeping the puppies?
8 weeks.
8 weeks? Another question I have is, what are you going to do with the waste, the animal waste?
Okay, so that's part of the reason why I'm building large yards. So they're going to be going out in the grass, and if it does, if you see piles here and there that the sun and rain don't dissipate, then I would sweep them up with a sweep
Yeah, and like you know, a privacy fence around the area. What is your definition of a privacy fence?
Well,
Can you describe it in detail?
that I'm not 100% certain on. That would depend on if we have a problem with barking. So
If you have a problem with that.
yes, say we get the dogs in the new facility, they're in their yards and they don't have any, they have wood or something, and they see a deer running across my pasture and they bark. Then I thought what I could do is put up a board fence or something between the woods and their yards to just so they won't have as many distractions.
But right now you're not planning to do that.
I haven't fully decided yet. I'm leaning towards doing that, and I will if we think it would be a good idea.
Well, you're going to have some sort of retaining fence if the dogs are going to have access to the outside, so you're going to have a chain link fence or something like that.
So you talked about the concrete floor that is heated. By that you mean electric wires are in the concrete?
No, there's water pipes in the concrete.
Hot water pipes?
Yes.
In the concrete?
Yeah.
So the concrete will be warm?
The concrete will be warm. It'll be on thermostat using floor.
And the other thing is, there will be no males housed in your facility?
Yes.
How do you get it to be, where are they gonna be? How many?
I'm sorry?
How many males?
I guess that would depend on if, say, if you have an elderly owner, you want to start a new one, there won't be a need for more than a few males.
Just one for each breed, probably.
Right, correct.
Okay, you done? Ken?
Yeah, I was curious about how many dogs there would be there as well, because if there's up to 12 breeding females, wondering how many males, and then when you have litters, how many you think, what the maximum number of dogs are going to be?
I guess that's something you can't look at in black and white. I think the dogs will have litters a maximum of 1 to 2 times per year, 1.5 times a year. So, and
So you can control how often you feed the dogs.
like, you could skip a gate cycle, so it would be only once a year. So, say they have other puppies, and obviously they're not going to have litters all at once. But there might be times when there's 60 litters.
Yeah, I was just wondering what you thought the maximum number is might be for with males and females and whatnot.
So if you have 2 litters and they each have 8 puppies, that'll be 16 puppies plus. And personally, I'm not going to start off with 12, and I'm not sure if we'll ever get up to there, but I just thought that was we needed to put a mark on it for the application. So, yeah.
Ken, any more? No? Mary?
Do you have dogs now?
Yes, I do.
How many do you have?
Okay, so when this other lady, her name had mentioned, I had lived over in Potter and I had a state license. So when I moved over here, I had my license, so I was under the impression that if I'm not building a special use permit, then I can have dogs and have a fee license. So, and just not so often only go and talk with code enforcement, because I was considering building new and for better housing and everything. So I asked myself if I put up a road tax type thing, affordable thing, that'll eliminate the need for a variance. I'm sorry. So that instantly started the ball rolling and I started paperwork. Actually 2 days after that, I think.
So you never really stopped breeding?
Yes, I did. I only had a license a year and 2 months or so now.
So how many dogs do you have right now?